The Gulf of Aden is a deep-water gulf of the Indian Ocean between Yemen to the north, the Arabian Sea to the east, Djibouti to the west, and the Guardafui Channel, the Socotra Archipelago, Puntland in Somalia and Somaliland to the south. In the northwest, it connects with the Red Sea through the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, and it connects with the Arabian Sea to the east. To the west, it narrows into the Gulf of Tadjoura in Djibouti. The Aden Ridge lies along the middle of the Gulf, and tectonic activity at the ridge is causing the Gulf to widen by about 15 mm, 0.59 in, per year. The ancient Greeks regarded the Gulf as one of the most important parts of the Erythraean Sea. It later came to be dominated by Muslims, as the area around the Gulf converted to Islam. From the late 1960s onwards, there was an increased Soviet naval presence in the Gulf. The importance of the Gulf of Aden declined while the Suez Canal was closed, but it was revitalized when the canal was reopened in 1975, after being deepened and widened by the Egyptian government. The waterway is part of the important Suez Canal shipping route between the Mediterranean Sea and the Arabian Sea in the Indian Ocean, with 21,000 ships crossing the Gulf annually. This route is often used for the delivery of Persian Gulf oil, making the Gulf an integral waterway in the world economy. Important cities along the Gulf of Aden include the namesake Aden in Yemen. Other Yemeni cities are Zinhabar, Shukra, Awar, Balhaf, Mukalla, Ashshir, Al-Hami, Hadabu, and Kulenzaya. On the African side are the cities of Djibouti, Berbera, and Bosaso. Despite a lack of large-scale commercial fishing facilities, the coastline supports many isolated fishing towns and villages. The Gulf of Aden is richly supplied with fish, turtles, and lobsters. Local fishing takes place close to the shore. Sardines, tuna, kingfish, and mackerel make up the bulk of the annual catches. Crayfish and sharks are also fished locally. The Gulf of Aden is a vital waterway for shipping, especially for Persian Gulf oil, making it an integral waterway in the world economy. Approximately 11% of the world's seaborne petroleum passes through the Gulf of Aden on its way to the Suez Canal or to regional refineries. The main ports along the Gulf are Aden, Balhaf, Bir Ali, Mukalla, and Shakra in Yemen, Djibouti City in Djibouti, Zila in Somaliland, Berbera in Somaliland, and Bosaso in Somalia. In antiquity, the Gulf was a thriving area of international trade between Ptolemaic Egypt and Rome in the west and classical India, its Indonesian colonies, and Han China in the east. It was not limited to transshipment, as Yemeni incense, tortoiseshell, and other goods were in high demand in both directions. After Egyptian sailors discovered the monsoon winds and began to trade directly with India, caravan routes and their associated kingdoms began to collapse, leading to a rise in piracy in the area. The 1st century periplus of the Erythraean Sea documents one Egyptian captain's experiences during this era. After the collapse of the Roman economy, direct trade ceased, but the Ozani port crater, located just south of the modern city of Aden, remained an important regional center. In late antiquity and the early medieval period, there were several invasions of Yemen from Ethiopia. After the rise of Islam, the Gulf permitted repeated migrations of northwest Africa by Arab settlers. In the first decade of the 2000s, especially during the war in Somalia, the Gulf evolved into a hub of pirate activity. By 2013, attacks in the waters had steadily declined due to private security and international navy patrols. India receives $50 billion in imports, and sends $60 billion in exports, through this area annually. To protect its trade and that of other countries, India keeps a warship escort in the area. The Gulf of Aden is an extension of the Indian Ocean, tucked between the Arabian Peninsula and the African continent. The Gulf connects the Red Sea to the Arabian Sea via the Strait of Bab el-Mandeb. It has a long history as part of the Erythraean Sea and a critical oil shipping route linking the Far East and Europe. The Gulf of Aden is also a critical part of the Suez Canal shipping route, which connects the Red Sea and the Mediterranean Sea. Thus, the Gulf's importance declined in the 1960s when the Egyptian government temporarily closed the Suez Canal for renovation. The name Gulf of Aden is a fairly new and modern name given to the Gulf. The Gulf is named after Aden, a port city on Yemen's coast. However, in ancient days, the water body was considered part of the Erythraean Sea. It was also referred to as the Gulf of Berbera by various sources, including Ibn Majid, an Arab navigator, and Abu al-Fida, a Kurdish geographer. Berbera is a prominent port city in the Sahel region. The Gulf of Aden is located between the Arabian Peninsula, north, and the Horn of Africa, south. It is bounded to the south by Somalia and the Socotra Islands, north by Yemen, east by the Arabian Sea, and west by Djibouti. The Gulf is connected to the Somali Sea to the south by the Guardafui Channel, and to the Red Sea on the west by the Strait of Bab el-Mandeb. Some of the major cities near the Gulf include Aden, Mukalla, Ainwar, Balhaf, Berbera, Bosaso, and Djibouti City. The Gulf of Aden is approximately 900 kilometers long and 500 kilometers wide and covers roughly 410,000 square kilometers. It has an average depth of 500 meters and a maximum depth of 2,700 meters. The water temperature ranges from 59 degrees Fahrenheit to 82 degrees Fahrenheit, depending on the monsoons and seasons. The salinity varies from 35.3%, near the Somali coast, to 37.3%, in the Gulf's central region. The Gulf of Aden is mainly shared by three countries: Yemen, Somalia, and Djibouti, whose exclusive economic zones extend into the water body. Somalia's EEZ extends 831,059 square kilometers, Yemen covers about 509,000 square kilometers, and Djibouti has less than 10,000 square kilometers. The Gulf of Aden is an important shipping route, with over 20,000 vessels passing through the Gulf annually, making it an important seaway in the world economy. The main commodity transported through the Gulf is the Persian Gulf oil, with about 11% of the world's total petroleum transported over water passing through it. India alone ships over $60 billion in export and $50 billion in imports through the Gulf of Aden. The major harbors along the Gulf include Aden, Mukalla, Djibouti City, Balhaf, and Berbera. In recent years, the Gulf of Aden has media and international attention due to refugee smuggling, terrorism, and piracy. In 2000, a U.S. vessel was nearly destroyed and sunk by a suicide bomber, while in 2002 MIV Limburg, a French oil tanker, was also attacked. However, the attacks have declined since 2013. Hundreds of illegal immigrants have also drowned while trying to cross the Gulf into Yemen. Gulf of Aden, deep water basin that forms a natural sea link between the Red Sea and the Arabian Sea. Named for the seaport of Aden, in southern Yemen, the Gulf is situated between the coasts of Arabia and the Horn of Africa. To the west, it narrows into the Gulf of Tadjoura. Its eastern geographic limits are defined by the meridian of Cape Guardafui, 51 degrees 16 minutes east. In oceanographic and geologic terms, however, it extends to the eastern limits of the continental shelf beyond the Khuriyyā Muriyyā islands to the north and the island of Socotra to the south, covering an area of some 205,000 square miles, 530,000 square km. Its total length, measured from east-northeast to west-southwest, is 920 miles, 1,480 kilometers, and its mean width, measured from north-northeast to south-southwest, is 300 miles, 480 kilometers. The dominant relief feature of the Gulf's terrain is the Sheba Ridge, an extension of the Indian Ocean ridge system, which extends along the middle of the Gulf. The rough topography of the ridge includes a well-defined median valley that is continually offset by faults running approximately northeast to southwest. The largest of these faults forms the Al-Lafardic Trench, in which is found the Gulf's maximum recorded depth of 17,586 feet, 5,360 meters. The Sheba Ridge is flanked on both sides by sediment-filled basins that reach depths of 13,000 feet, 3,900 meters, at the mouth of the Gulf. To the west, the ridge gives way to a relatively shallow east, west-trending valley known as the Tadjoura Trench. The main factor in the Gulf's geologic formation is the spreading of the seafloor away from the Sheba Ridge axis. The African continent and the Arabian Peninsula initially split along their present margins either in the late Eocene or early Oligocene epoch, i.e., about 35 million years ago. They have since drifted apart in a direction parallel to the Gulf's faults. The Gulf is part of a complex water structure. Gulf waters, via the Bab el-Mandeb, Bab al-Mandab, Strait, flow into the Red Sea, replacing large-scale evaporation there, which occurs at a rate of 82 inches, 210 centimeters, per year. The Gulf's flow pattern is complicated by monsoon, rain-bearing, winds, eddies, and a surface layer that has high salinity. Surface temperatures of the Gulf's waters are generally between 77 and 88 degrees Fahrenheit, 25 and 31 degrees Celsius. The Gulf's marine life is rich in both the quantity and the variety of its species. Seasonally variable upwelling of waters in the coastal zone provides the surface layer with a considerable supply of nutrient elements, which produce an abundant growth of plankton. Sardines and mackerel abound in these areas of upwelling. The main open sea fish are dolphin, tuna, billfish, and sharks. Whales are frequently sighted. The Gulf provides a breeding ground for sea turtles, and rock lobster are abundant. Despite a lack of large-scale commercial fishing facilities, the coastline supports many isolated fishing towns and villages. Local fishing takes place close to the shore. Sardines, tuna, kingfish, and mackerel make up the bulk of the annual catches. Crayfish and sharks are also fished locally, while survey ships have occasionally pulled in exceptional catches of fish. Thank you for watching this video.